So I've culled minimum 75% of the decks that I brought into my life. I probably culled all 100% of the ones I brought into my life in the last 6 months because those were all emotional impulse purchases, whatever, and those were under the the category of I need something, right? So I'm trying to remember what my tarot shelf looks like, and I'm almost certain that I've cleared out all the ones that came into my life in the last 6 months. Because you see, what I want to talk about today is that it's okay. Um, it's okay to acquire things. It's okay to self medicate, to self soothe, with whatever means you medicate, self medicate, and self soothe, right? As long as, although I'm a big proponent that as long as you're not harming yourself, then go right ahead and do whatever the hell it is that you need to do to get by. And what I mean by harming is that I would never think it's okay for someone to spend the money that they should be paying their rent, car payments, mortgage payments, groceries, utilities on tarot decks or anything else for that matter. But on the flip side, it really is none of my business what other people do with their money. I just wanted to be clear that I'm not promoting it. I'm just sharing my own experience. So after I culled that initial amount, and then I went in, and I'm still going in and checking with myself to see what do I really need. And that's where the subject of this video was born. What do I really? Which deck? What decks do I really need? Well, none. I don't need any of these tarot decks. I only need one if I want to read tarot. I don't need any at all if I don't want to read tarot. So it's a choice. And then that made me ponder something else. In this whole process of watching TarotTube and then contributing to TarotTube and self-soothing and self-medicating malaise and ennui with shopping, retail therapy, I still have a sense of longing, as I had forgotten that word longing, at least in English. It's a long story, people. I speak a couple of languages, and sometimes my vocabulary slips in one and whatever. So a friend and I were having a conversation this week, and she brought up the word longing. And it's like, that word is so good. Longing. And when I culled my collection, the first call, then the second, then the third sweep, and now I'm gearing up for another sweep to look through and with a hawk's eyes and look at exactly what it is I have and why am I hanging on to it and what do I really need. I discovered what I'm longing for. For 20 years, so for 10 years, I read with my first Rider-Waite deck, which was a plaid back, which I've since rehomed a similar one, like a 1980s plaid back, because why hang on to something that's a memento? It's not even the actual one. That is a facsimile of something that gave me agita when I had it. So it's like, that took a while to realize. After 10 years with the Rider-Waite, and I know if you've been watching me for 5 minutes, you're probably rolling your eyes saying, oh my God, Grace, how many times do you have to tell the same story? But I'm leading up to something. I promise. After reading with that first deck for 10 years, that's all I knew. You know what I mean? It's like I had gone to, because when I was learning how to read, I went out to other readers to see what they do, which is, how you learn how to be a reader. At least it was back in the day when, back when I was learning. Most of the readers that I met when I was young and learning had a Rider-Waite-Smith plowed back. Because when you went to a metaphysical shop, that's what was on the shelf. And there was one reader I went to, one psychic I went to see for reading for myself, who had a Marseille. And this guy was creepy as shit, man. It's so I identified Marseille with this guy. So that's why Marseille and this guy. For me, it's like I see stark white with the stark white cards with the primary colors and everything, and already I start to feel a little sick to my stomach. But that's not what this is about. After the first 10 years with the Rider-Waite, I was reading at a metaphysical shop, and the reader beside me had a basket with different decks. And I think I had actually went to her for a reading for myself. And she had this deck, which is the Morgan Greer. Not this one. This one's mine. And I thought, that's kind of cool, because with my limited knowledge, 10 years I'd been using the same tarot deck. As far as I was concerned, there was only 2 tarot decks in the world. My Rider-Waite and the Marseille that other guy used. So this opened up a whole world for me. I saw this and I thought, I see. It's the same images, but interpreted differently. With, these bold colors, different art style. So I bought myself a Morgan Greer, and this, and the only other deck that I knew, let's say around the late 90s was, or mid 90s, was the Mythic Tarot, mid to late 90s, Mythic Tarot, because someone close to me read with the Mythic Tarot, exclusively. She still reads with the Mythic Tarot exclusively, and that brings me to what it is I'm longing for. You know what I'm longing for, people? I'm longing for the days where I only had one. I didn't even have to love, I didn't love my Rider-Waite-Smith, my plowed back. But I know it inside out, which is why I use the Centennial to read for other people. Oh, here, it's already out of the box. I use the Centennial to read for other people because I know this deck inside out. I know it like the proverbial back of my hand. And it's reliable. It's a reliable reader for me. If the spirits don't show up for a reading, I can read these. It's reliable. I know these cards. Like I said, inside out. Hey, pupper. And so after 10 years at the plowed back, I gave it away. I gave it to a friend. I started with the Morgan Greer, and I read with these. This was my only working tarot deck. My only tarot deck. I think I had the Mythic Tarot stored because I held on to it, and I held on to it, I think, as a connection to my friend who I miss a lot. We live like opposite ends of the country. So I hung on to that Mythic Tarot because it was when I look through the cards, I'm in my friend's kitchen or she's in my kitchen and we're doing our thing. But anyway, I picked these up, I think, in I'll say 97. It may have been sometime between 95 and 97. And read with these exclusively. Only these. These, like when I said the word tarot, this is what popped in my head. My one deck. up until 2018. And then 2018, I went shopping for a new Rider-Waite because I was going to go and read it to the public. Like I was going to go and do public readings after so long. I was going home. And I didn't want to go home with my ready deck. So I ended up with, thanks to a Facebook friend, I ended up getting this one, and it's been my working deck since 2018. I still read occasionally with this one. But these are my two working decks. What am I longing for? I think what I miss the most about tarot, since exposing myself to all the different decks I exposed myself to, is that feeling of knowing, intimately knowing a deck of cards, intimately knowing 78 cards, with, you know, knowing every line, every squiggle, including the wear on the cards, knowing just by the minute the card drops on the table, knowing what it's trying, you know, what the universe is trying to communicate. Being able to visualize in my mind 78 cards. I like to play a game with myself where when when I'm watching videos, if someone mentions a card or whatever, I try to picture in my mind exactly what the card looks like. And of course, what I'm going to picture is either this or this. But what I'm trying to say is that I could mentally flip through an entire deck of either these two and, just start with Fool, Magician, High Priestess, and be able to see the images in my mind. I only have that with these two decks. And I miss, again, that intimate relationship between me and the decks I know very well. I miss the intimate relationship I have with the books, with the first books I ever read on tarot. And I miss that feeling, that intimacy, that intimate relationship I had with these books, where I can open this book up and find exactly what I'm looking for because I've read it over and over again. These books were way beyond my understanding when I got them. These were the 3 books that came with my second Rider-Waite. My first Rider-Waite deck I gave to a friend because it freaked me out. My second one, I just thought the energy of the deck was weird. That's not a story for this video. But the second Rider-Waite I bought, Plaidback, came in a set, in a box set. I bought it at Kmart in the States. And it came with these 3 books. Yeah, that was in the late 80s. Because I bought one in the mid 80s, one in the late 80s of Rider-Waite. But so I miss that. I miss that intimate relationship. I miss. What do you need to be an excellent card reader? You need to know your deck. You need to know your resource, your tool. You need to be an adept of your tool. You don't need a specific deck. You need the deck you know the best. You need to have a relationship with the symbols in the deck that you're using in order to be a good reader. You don't need the latest, greatest deck. If that's what you want, by all means, get it. But if you're watching TarotTube because you are pulled and you have the drive to be a reader, then what you need is a deck. And I know there's a lot of, I've seen controversy where people say, well, what's a beginner's deck? A beginner's deck is a traditional deck. Period. I'm tired of, I'm tired of being polite about this. I'm gonna be like brutally honest about my own opinion. For me, for someone to learn how to read tarot, a beginner's deck is any of the traditional decks, Rider-Waite, or anything Rider-Waite-ish. I have one, people. I have one of this type. I hang on to it just to remind me that I don't like it. Well, not that, you know what I mean? I don't like reading it. But if you're not a Rider-Waite person and you're drawn to Marseille, you just need one Marseille deck. And you know what? You don't even need some fancy collector reproduction Marseille, okay? You could just get Tarot de Marseille on Amazon. You know what I mean? You don't need a fancy deck. You don't need a collector's item. You don't need it. That's a personal choice. But if you're just wanting to learn, you just need 78 cards with traditional symbolism and a book. Any traditional book with the meanings. All you need is to figure out what kind of imagery appeals to you. Rider-Waite, Marseille, Thoth. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you just want to learn to read cards. If you just want to learn to read cards, perfect. There's tons of resources for free on the internet with the meanings of playing cards to learn divination. You're drawn to Lenormand? I was taught to read playing cards by pulling out all the cards, by just with the, 32, I don't even remember now. The number of decks in a Lenormand deck, number of cards in a Lenormand deck, with the cards assigned the Lenormand meanings, which is why I really dislike Lenormand, but that's just because I like my messages to be. I like to work for my messages, is what I'm trying to say. That's what you need. That's all you need. We're approaching Halloween in the Northern Hemisphere. If you live in North America and there is a Spirit Halloween store in your town, and they have one of their cheapo prop Rider-Waite-Smith knockoff decks for $10, pick up one of those. What I'm trying to say is that I really miss tarot. It turned into, everything turned into about tarot decks. And when it turned into about the tarot decks, I feel like the study of tarot was completely lost, or or tarot was completely lost. The usage, the reading of, took a back seat to, the latest interpretation of the tarot. Because me too, I get sucked in by beautiful things and beautiful art. The decks I've showed you so far are decks that are staying in my collection. This one is pure genius. This is the Marielle first edition. Mine is trimmed. This, to me, is pure genius. I went chasing for all kinds of other decks, especially, I went chasing for all other decks when I should have just stopped when I got this one. This, Thoth. It's really all I need to be a tarot reader. So all this to say, I really miss the intimate relationship with a deck. Because the intimate relationship with the deck is part of the magic. Is the magic that you imbue into the deck. And the deck you have the intimate relationship with is the one that will always give you the clear guidance. It's the one that will always call you out on your shit. It's the one that you can always trust. Because there's a relationship between you and the symbolism in that deck. And it's become part of your inner language. You've absorbed it into your inner landscape. You've absorbed it into your inner language. You've absorbed it into your thought processes. Like I said, for me, I have developed an intimate relationship with a deck when I can picture all 78 cards in my mind without looking at them. So that's it for this video. I'm going to be focusing on rekindling those intimate relationships, or rekindling that intimate relationship with the deck that I'm reading. I think without question, I've re-entered a depth here. It's 2 days now where the focus is going to be on reconnecting with the things that do sustain me spiritually, connect with the things that do sustain me intellectually, and that's going to be my focus, because so much of me is scattered, and I need to bring all those pieces home. All right, people, that's it for this video. Feel welcome to tell me what you think in the comment section. I'm always interested in how other people are thinking or feeling. Do you have an intimate relationship with your decks or deck? I feel personally, although I can only speak for myself, I can only have an intimate relationship with maybe maximum 3 different tarot decks, maybe 4. Anything beyond that, I think it goes back to, no, I wouldn't be able to picture every card in my mind. And that, for me, that's the measurement right there. That's the assessment right there. All right. So yeah, I love, this is what I like this is what I'd like you to answer in the comment section. Or you could do your own video. Is there a deck that you work with that you can visualize all 78 cards. And this is specifically for tarot because tarot is symbolism. Oracle is all over the place, but tarot is symbolism. Have you, is there a deck that you own that you've absorbed all those 78 cards and are able to bring them up in your mind at a moment's notice, instantly? All right. Thank you for tuning in, and I wish you all a beautiful day. Bye-bye.